also the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra was an integral part of that album. And then when it comes coming back to the national anthem, I have created multiple versions of the national anthem in the past because, as I said, it's a very important piece of music for me. So during my professional career of about 24 years, I've done two versions in the past of the national anthem. And of course, when I was an amateur musician, I made a lot of versions of the national anthem. But during the last 24 years, I've done two versions of the national anthem, one being in 2015. I created a version of the national anthem which was dedicated to the forests and wildlife of India. Because we as Indians, we all know that we are much more than just human beings. You know, India is not just human beings. When we speak about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is the theme of our G20 presidency, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is not just about living in peace and harmony between all of us human beings. It's further than that. We have to widen the circle. It's about living in peace and harmony with all entities on this planet, and that's what our ancient traditions teach us. That we have to live in coexistence with the forest and wildlife and also the elements of nature, the air we breathe, the land we walk on, the land we walk on and the water we drink. So basically all the elements of nature is something that we have to live in coexistence with. So that is the version that we did, and that particular version was played at the COP21, that is the Paris Climate Change Conference in 2015. And then after that, I did another version last year in 2020. So I do a lot of work with the United Nations and their Global Goodwill Ambassador. So while working with the UNHCR, that is the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, I created a version of the national anthem with 12 refugee musicians. Now these are musicians who have been forced to leave their country for whatever reasons, some under dire circumstances, some with just the clothes on their back. They've been forced to leave the country. Some of them, they were made to leave the country just because they were musicians. And India has given them a new home. Our government has given them a new home. And they feel very, very welcome in India. In fact, they feel that they've led a life in India much better than what they led in their country of origin. So these 12 refugees and they came up with the idea that to celebrate 75 years of Indian independence, let us all sing the national anthem. And I was very surprised that all of them knew the national anthem very, very well. The pronunciations were impeccable, the accent was impeccable, their musical talents obviously was amazing because all of them are brilliant musicians, these 12. So then the 13 of us, we sang the national anthem last year, which actually went quite viral. In a single day, we got about 11 million views on Twitter. So it did really well at that time, and it was shared quite widely because everybody's imagination was captured that these people who have come in from different parts of the world, you know, they come into India, they feel welcome. We as Indians have given them a home. And you know, so much so that they've actually learned a national anthem and they are proudly singing the national anthem to celebrate our 75 years of independence. This year I decided to go very epic. So coming back to the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra in the UK, I went to them with this idea, and it took us 3 months to complete this whole project because it requires a lot of writing, it requires a lot of arrangement because there are 100 musicians involved. Every musician needs a sheet in front of them. You have to create all of these harmonies, you have to decorate the anthem beautifully and with a lot of respect. So the 100 musician orchestra is the biggest symphony orchestra to have ever recorded the Indian national anthem. So that is one main thing, that is the biggest symphony orchestra to have ever recorded the national anthem. And of course, on a lighter note, the British have ruled us for over 200 years. So it's nice to have an Indian composer conduct their mighty Royal Philharmonic Orchestra performing our Indian national anthem. So that in itself is a huge story. It's completely self-funded. No entity is involved. It's 100% self-funded. So what I want to do is that, and the reason why I've kept it self-funded, the reason why I've not involved anybody financially in this particular project is that I want to give it as a gift without any restrictions to every single Indian everywhere in the world. So the idea is that every single Indian everywhere in the world, or even non-Indians, can utilize this anthem for whatever purposes they want, for events, for placing it on their own social media, for playing back at educational institutions, whatever purposes that anybody wants, because it is the constitutional version of our national anthem, that is the 52-second version. So anybody can play it for whatever purposes they want, and the hope is that this becomes the definitive version of the national anthem that everybody plays whenever they need to play a version of the national anthem. So again, it's no royalties, no permission also required. Everybody can use it for whatever purposes they want. The only caveat is that please use it with respect in whatever way you want to use it.
So what is the motto behind this? What is the motto behind this recording?
So I guess it's just to showcase the Indian national anthem in a very, very large way. Because the composition itself is absolutely beautiful by Sri Rabindranath Tagore. It's a beautiful, beautiful composition. So for me, I'm extremely respectful of the Indian national anthem. In fact, for me, the Indian national anthem is absolutely sacrosanct. And that's the reason why I've kept the Indian national anthem the way the constitution demands, that it has to be 52 seconds. Of course, the video is 60 seconds because there's an introduction music to it. But the national anthem element itself is just 52 seconds. And the idea is that I do not want to take liberties with the Indian national anthem. Like a lot of composers, they do these very slow versions of the national anthem which goes on for 1.5 minutes. And also, like the ones which play in movie theaters, the versions of the national anthem with that bad animation of a flag, cross-fading into each other. So I thought that, that we need to have one version of the national anthem that can be played everywhere. And again, since no entity was involved in this, there's no restrictions, because it's not like a record company is involved, so you need to take permissions from them, or somebody's put in money into this, so that is why, like you have to take permissions from them. So that way, it is a free-for-all anthem that anybody can use and nobody has to take any permissions to use it.
Sir, you are the winner of 3-time Grammy Award. So would you request to the Indian government that this should be played and when G20 to be happen in September?
What is played?
Yeah.
My version of the national anthem.
Yeah, it should be played.
No, of course, I would love it to be played. If you can talk to them, then please get that done. No, because as I said, it's free for all, so I would be the happiest person if they play it at the G20. I think that would be amazing if they actually do it, because the UK and India are part of G20. So I think it would be a great occasion to actually play this. So it's your responsibility now.
Message you want to give on Independence Day will come in? Any message you want to? Yeah.
I think I would like to give a message to musicians, basically.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that, as you mentioned, I've won 3 Grammy Awards, I've gotten international recognition, all of that stuff, whatever it is. But the thing is that a lot of young musicians in India feel that if you want to be known all over the world and if you want international recognition, you have to sing songs in English, you have to do hip-hop music, you have to do pop music, you have to do basically Western forms of music, which is completely untrue. Because the people who have gotten global recognition are actually the Indian classical musicians and musicians who make Indian music. Like, for example, me, then of course you have Pandit Ravi Shankar, you have Ustad Zakir Hussain, you have Pandit Vishnumohan Bhatt. All of these people have broken cultural barriers and they've taken Indian music all over the world and they've been appreciated for it. So my advice to younger musicians on Independence Day would be that if you're looking for global recognition, then instead of trying to ape the West, it is better for you to dig deep into your roots, try to understand what is it that makes you uniquely Indian, create music on that. It does not even have to be Indian music, it can be about Indian topics also. About things about celebrating India. Create that music and then everybody will appreciate you all over the world.
देखिए जी, आप जो है ना कंसेप्ट पे ज़्यादा फोकस करते हैं क्या? कभी आपने देशभक्ति की फिल्म के रोल के बारे में कभी सोचा है? कभी आप
नहीं, अगर कोई देशभक्ति की फिल्म के लिए अगर कोई बॉलीवुड फिल्म या कोई भी दूसरा फिल्म इंडस्ट्री अगर मुझे अप्रोच करे, मैं 100% करूँगा, क्योंकि मैं सिर्फ वो एंटरटेनमेंट के मैं आइटम सॉन्ग कभी नहीं करूँगा तो वैसे तो मैं सिर्फ वो गाने बनाता हूँ जो मेरे से अलाइंड हो और जो मेरे फिलॉसफी से अलाइंड है, तो वो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है। मैं वो ऐसे गाने नहीं करूँगा जो एक डायरेक्टर बोलेगा कि हीरो ने हीरोइन से कुछ बोलना चाहा तो इस पर एक सिचुएशन में गाना बनाओ, नहीं तो 5 विलेन है, वो बार में जाता है, वहाँ पर एक लड़की नाच रही है, उस पर गाना बनाओ। वो वैसे गाने मैं बिल्कुल नहीं बनाऊँगा। अगर पूरा अलाइनमेंट है कि ये इधर देशभक्ति के लिए है, नहीं तो एनवायरनमेंट पर है, कोई सोशल कॉज पर हो, मैं 100% सब कुछ काम छोड़ के मैं करूँगा।